What if the fear you feel about stepping into your power isn't yours? What if it's been living in your DNA for centuries? I'm releasing this episode around the summer solstice, one of the most potent notches on the wheel of the year, a time of full light, full visibility, and the height of our own embodied power. It felt like exactly the right moment to share this conversation. Emma Griffin is an eclectic modern witch, intuitive channeler, and author who was raised in a family of witches and mediums in Cornwall, England. With 28 years of witchcraft experience, she's become globally recognized for her understanding of seasonal living, her intuitive gifts, and her mission to help women transcend doubt, fear, and self sabotage. She's the author of Find Your Soul Path and The Witch's Way Home, magic, spells, and rituals to lead you back to your most powerful self. And her newest offering, The Witch's Way Home Oracle Deck, is already a phenomenon. She's been featured on the BBC, Talk TV, Heart FM, and in The Mirror and The Guardian, and also on many festival stages across the UK. In this conversation, Emma reveals what the witch's wound actually is, an inherited fear carried in our DNA that keeps so many women playing small, and why healing it starts with sisterhood, not solitude. We talk about living by the wheel of the year and the one simple ritual, it starts with a cup of tea, that can completely shift how connected you feel to your own magic. But here's what I want you to know before we begin. Emma's credentials are extraordinary, but they're not what makes her unforgettable. It's her energy. The moment she speaks, you feel her. Her words don't come from her resume, they come from her spirit, from the part of her that has chosen to show up authentically, not just for herself, but for every woman who has stepped away from her own embodied witch, including me. I've come to know Emma not only through this conversation, but through a personal soul guidance session she did for me, one where she gently named something I had been quietly turning over inside myself, and then named something I hadn't yet seen, a witch wound around being visible. And I didn't fully understand the weight of what she said in that moment. It wasn't until shortly after, when I lost my voice, literally lost my voice, that I was forced to sit still and listen. Her insights had paralleled my reality with a precision I couldn't ignore. That is the Emma you're about to meet, the one who sees you, the one whose presence invites you to come home to yourself. Welcome to Chat Off the Mat, a space where we talk about energy, sovereignty, and what it really means to live as a woman fully awake to her own power. I am so honored to share this conversation with the extraordinary Emma Griffin. Welcome, Emma. I'm so excited that you're here today.
Thank you. It's been absolute honor to be asked to
Mm,
attend this. So thank you.
thank you. So, you were raised in a family of witches and mediums. And I'd like to ask you, what was it like growing up with this magic as your birthright? And also, how long did it take you to connect with that energy as well?
That's a lovely question. I actually didn't know it was anywhere different. I thought everyone's family were like mine. So
Mm,
I never thought my mum was magical until I was a teenager. But my mum used to make me little fairy books, and they'd be miniature tiny books, and she'd leave wishes in them, and they were like leather bound, they're tiny, and she'd leave them on my pillow. So I, believed in fairies and magic and make believe worlds, and they didn't have much money, so everything was made for us, or we used for our imagination. So everything was fantasy, and so I was
mm,
very blessed in that way. And my dad did towards more like when I was in my late teens to 20s. My dad just stood up one day and started doing platform mediumship in a spiritualist church, and I was blown away. And yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing watching him just receive messages, deepen his confidence and just sharing them. And, my mum was a practicing witch, very different to how I am today, but she was a practicing witch. And we would have seances after a Sunday dinner. We would do Ouija boards. She was a tarot reader. She's very well known with her own deck. So it's called the Hesychos Tarot. That was her deck. And she always had people coming around for readings. And I just thought this was completely normal until I met my husband when I was 17 and met his parents and sort of learned more about their life. And I thought, okay, there's something different with mine.
Wow, you are very blessed, and if anybody oh, I can imagine how magical your life was as
It's like
a
Harry Potter.
yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want that? And then to have your dad do platform reading, and if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's just you stand up in front of a crowd and you
Just
start
read
to
the
get
book.
impressions. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that your father also embraced his how can I say this? His skills, right? His
Yeah.
own personal abilities and wasn't afraid to not show them.
Yeah, well, he traveled the world. He worked in the fashion industry, so he traveled the world and he loved different cultures and loved to go to temples and things
Mm,
like that. So he learned about meditation and spirituality, where my mum was more magic and witchcraft and the spirit world and manifesting. So my dad taught me how to meditate. So it was
mm,
yeah, it's really
I love that. That's wonderful. So I noticed that there's a lot more coming around about witches, witch wound, connecting with your witch. So this is a beautiful time to connect with that energy. And I think more and more people, women, are connecting with that calling to be a
yeah.
witch. How does someone feel that energy inside or that calling? How does that begin? How can they understand when they feel that need to connect with that energy and not be afraid of it?
You know, I've seen with the women that I work with, there's a lot of fear around the word witch still to today. They fear judgment, that it's going to be a bit too out there and they'll be mocked. And, I do carry that with me day to day. But I think within them, they are sort of like it's sparked, especially when social media is now, good and bad. But more and more witches around lockdown have started coming out online and sharing what they were doing. And I think it hit a nerve with lots of women and it made people sort of remember or made them sort of wake up or made them think, oh, actually, I want to do that. Something about me that I want to do
Mm,
that. I think it does come from our ancestors, but also, we're not doing anything wrong. We're not, we're working with nature, working with the world around us and within us. But I think it's the slower life that appeals to people. I think there's so much noise on social media. So when you see a witch living their life, it can be quite simple, it can be quite elaborate. Each witch is different. But I think it's really been inspiring for women to see and to feel safe in that and to
yeah.
actually see, actually, no, this isn't scary. It's actually a lot slower, a lot more present. It's a lot, connecting to nature. It's easier.
It's healing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you explain that. Yeah, I've also felt that as well. I feel like I've always had that energy. When I was a child, I went to the library, I remember so clearly
Yeah.
that I came across a children's book and it was about witches. And I brought it home, but I hid it. And it was intriguing, and I was like, "Oh, this is so great." And that was the last time I did, but that was so, so long ago, and I'll never forget that because I felt that there was something very powerful about that, very, familiar about that energy of being a witch, and I recently
Yeah.
started to connect to more with that. Now you talk, in your Witch's Way Home, which is I have all your things here. This is
Oh,
your
thank
latest
you.
your latest book. I love your work. I'm a big fan. You talk extensively about healing the witch wound, and I think this kind of relates to the conversation we were just having. Reconnecting with that energy. So maybe for listeners who don't know really the language around what that is, if you don't mind explaining what that is and how it shows up.
Yeah, I believe that the witch wound is in all of us, men and women. because it's deep in our DNA. So everyone has a spiritual team of ancestors that we don't know of, or people that, like in our soul family, that we've had past lives with, and it's massive. And there'd be somebody in there that has witnessed a woman or a man put to death and accused of witchcraft. So this fear ricochets down through us into our DNA now. So it shows up in women more than men now in this day and age, because women are very scared of sharing their spiritual gifts. Women hold back what they really value and believe in because they're afraid of standing out, being different, judged, or losing female friends and things like that. So it's really to do with a fear of being seen, and that it feels not safe to believe in the woo woo or stand in your power and burn to me in a cauldron. That's, could be too much for some people. So I believe that we're all carrying it around now. And the only way to actually start to heal that is to attend women's circles, be around women, uplift women, don't judge other women, support and uplift, and have a really strong sisterhood, because that's where the magic is, within all that wisdom. So yeah, it's like nothing else. So that's a little step to actually try and heal that witch wound within us.
Yeah. And if you don't have that tribe, or if that tribe doesn't exist or that community,
Yeah.
I tell women, create your own.
Yeah, call them in. Call
Call
them
them
in.
in,
Tell the
right?
universe, call them in, and just, yeah, or you can do it digitally. We have this lovely, system in our lives now that we can actually, put a call out on Instagram or TikTok or whatever and see who comes
Right.
forward.
And I know one of the things that you like to do is you create a community. You have a witch school, which I'd like to talk about
Yeah.
later as well. And also we can invite rituals into our lives very slowly to connect with. Well, one of I don't it wouldn't be a ritual, but our intuition or inner guidance is a really big part of ourselves, and reconnecting to that as well. I know you talk about that. How important is it for a woman to trust her own inner authority and her own inner guidance and the whispers that she hears?
Yeah, I think that is the ultimate, really, is the most important thing. I mean, obviously, I work with the spirit world and I do readings for people. And quite often, people are desperate to hear from a loved one in the spirit world or their spirit guide, or for guidance, for direction. But I really believe that the best guidance comes from our soul, from our intuition, because our soul knows where we've been and what we've done and what we've, signed up to, but it also knows what we signed up to in this lifetime. So it knows where we're going. So that is the best form
Mhm.
of guidance. But we have to allow time, make time in our lives to practice and connect to our intuition. It's in the stillness, in the silence. And she's gentle. So we need to, slow down and pause to actually make that connection. It's like a relationship. You
Yeah,
put time into
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. Yeah. You
Yeah.
talk a lot about returning to the self.
Yeah, that
How
is
would you
that. That is
Yes.
that,
Okay.
because everything society is pushing us to look elsewhere and outside of ourselves, where everything comes from within, all our answers. We
Yeah.
can reduce our stress, we can heal ourselves. Everything comes from that present moment, and just listening to our soul and allowing her to guide us, because you can never go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's very unfamiliar for women to do that.
Very unfamiliar. And then
Yeah.
normally what the soul does is it puts you on a path, or like nudges you gently onto a path, which then makes you feel completely fearful, or then the judgment comes in and the limited beliefs or the self doubts and stuff like that. But that's the path we need to go through to expand. And society's always shown us that when we actually get to that stage and we feel the fear, we need to stop. It's not safe. Go back into your hole, dim your light. When really we should be doing complete opposite.
Yes, I totally agree. And also
Yeah,
express ourselves.
yeah,
A lot of women don't find the comfort in expressing their authenticity, their desire, their voice. They
yeah.
hide.
They
Like you
hide
said, they
it
don't
with
make themselves
clothes.
visible. Yeah.
Yeah, clothes, their values, they just sort of like to mirror in, blend in, and just be the same as everyone else, when really it's pretty cool to be, our unique selves and show our unique gifts. It's amazing that we all are different, and that's where we should be.
And once you connect with that and you go through those portals that of
Yeah.
judgment and of
It's easy.
reconnecting, it gets so much easier.
Yeah.
and you ask yourself, "Oh my gosh, why wasn't I like that all along?"
Yeah, yeah, and I think we have to go through the fear because then we make our own evidence, and then we look back and go, "Actually, that wasn't that bad.
Right.
That was
Right.
really good, so next time, it's not gonna
Yeah.
be as fearful."
Right. Exactly. People are gonna love you for who you are no matter what.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah, I think
Exactly.
the fear of judgment is big and losing the people in your lives, and but, I think when you live your life the way you need to live your life, I think
Yeah,
people will eventually see that and be like, "Wow, look at her. She's amazing, and she feels
yeah,
good, and she's stepping into her power." There's nothing better
yeah,
than having that sovereignty.
yeah, and the
That's
right people will be in your life. You know, if you
right.
lose people, then yes, it's painful, but celebrate it because they're not meant to be on your
Yeah.
path.
Um You often do rituals. I love your Instagram, how you have your altar and you have your oracle deck. I know you recently released your oracle deck, which is absolutely lovely. And you have your rituals, you have your beautiful cauldron and things. What are some of the ways a woman can invite simple rituals into her life?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously have different altars all over the house and in the
Me too.
garden. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to have altars either, just as simple. I think lots of people will say, I don't have the time. I don't have the time. I've got, 3 children. I'm really, really busy, and I've been there. I've had children who were little, but everyone has a time to make a big cup of tea and light a candle. And while you're drinking that cup of tea, you can just put your hand on your heart and connect yourself. If you did that every single day and listened and just felt and be in that time just while you're drinking that cup of tea, your life will change, completely change. And then that might move on to maybe, okay, I'm going to journal for 20 minutes or I'm going to meditate. Or you might then want to, well, from your journey, you might realize that you're holding on to things that, longer serves you. So you might want to do a ritual of releasing. That could be in a saucepan, it doesn't have to be in a cauldron.
Right.
Or it can be in a bowl of water. You don't have to always use fire. But most of the rituals I do is releasing because I need to clear away more than I need to manifest, call in. We need to like do a spring clean and make sure the energy is always moving. But most
Yeah.
of the things you see on social media is all about manifesting and calling things in. But I think some of the things that people are manifesting, they might not even really want them. So in
Mhm.
that stillness, in that lighting that candle, having a cup of tea, that's where you can check in. Do I really want this? And why? Because we don't
Yeah.
ask ourselves questions. We just sort of go. We never
Yeah.
take a moment of pause and actually ask, well, what do I want? And I think that's so important.
That self-reflection as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I work a lot with when I teach, I'm always saying, "What in your life do you need to release?" And it's just really coming up a lot lately because I think we take on so much, not
yeah,
just from our current lifetime, but also I think from our past lives.
yeah,
What we've brought in, from our ancestors, our
yeah,
parents,
yeah,
uh, yeah, and what we take on. And women are such nurturing individuals. We also take on everyone else's responsibilities and
yeah.
emotions, and we hold so many
Hold of
people.
it all. Yeah. So when sometimes you're manifesting for your children or your partner or your sisters or your friends, you rarely manifest for yourself. You rarely think about yourself. We're normally, especially when we become mums, thinking of everybody else. So when I ask a mum, now what do you want? Not what you want for your kids or easy home life. What do you actually want? And they can't think of it.
Right.
It's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why this work is important, this self
It is.
reflection and returning to yourself and
It's the
pausing.
most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
pausing and connecting with that, absolutely. So I mentioned your oracle deck, A Witch's Way Home, and which is lovely, and yeah, I guess you could say it's a companion to your book,
Yes.
but it's a
Don't
standalone
have
tool.
to. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't have to have, but it goes quite nice with the book.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful, and so how when you were creating this, how do you envision a woman working with this tool? So this is, we consider this a tool, a divination tool,
Yeah.
a companion, a friend. How do you envision women working with this?
I envisioned, well, I really wanted a deck that I would use every day. So that was very important to me, but also a deck that I could give to my daughter who's 26, and I wanted her to be able to use it in the same way. So I sort of visualized the stillness that I've been talking about and having that daily practice, whether that's in the morning, the afternoon, or evening. It's entirely up to somebody. But actually just connecting to yourself, like I said, lighting the candle and feeling into things, maybe journaling and then shuffling that deck to see if you can get an extra layer of guidance that your intuition's already shown you. It normally will back it up. That's how I find it. So I also wanted to give a journal prompt on each card message so that then you could go even deeper with your journaling. So it's like a big sister holding your hand, giving you extra help. Some people say it's like having me in their back pocket,
Yeah.
which is quite cute.
When I read it, I hear your voice.
Yeah,
Yes, which is very soothing and
thank
and
you.
lovely and
Thank
empowering as at the same time.
you. And
Yeah.
each message I channeled over an hour for each of those cards. So it was a very long process. So yeah. Did,
Yeah, so for anybody that doesn't realize what that is, you if you wanna explain, like, what that is, because you are a channeler and you've channeled these
yeah,
cards.
Chandler is my gift. It's what I use to read. So I connect to my whole spiritual team, which is many different dimensions of beings and loved ones and ancestors. We could have a whole podcast on that. But I make sure I take time each day to connect to them. And with each card, I sat in meditation and I sort of told them, I knew the title, so like the words
Mm.
on the front of the card. So I'd say that to them. And then they would start speaking to me the guidance from that. So I literally have to open my eyes and just write down what I'm hearing and seeing. So that was over an hour for each
Wow,
card.
each card, that's lovely, and then who did the artwork?
We found an illustrator on Instagram. He was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it's
My
lovely.
publisher kept sending me illustrators and I was just didn't quite fit. And then they found me this lovely Roma and she had a picture that she drew of a toad. And I was like, that's my illustrator. That's the one I want. And she was
Yeah,
lovely. So obviously I gave her mood boards of obviously you have like a vision in your mind when you're so immersed into creating a deck or like a book, as you know. But I gave her mood boards and then she wanted to put in my daughter and then she added me and my husband and my son and my dog. So she's added those things into it.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a really lovely partnership. It was beautiful.
Isn't
She's incredible.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I encourage everyone to check out the deck and it's make it part of your ritual as I do in the morning and I pull my cards and even if they don't resonate immediately,
They
just
will.
put yeah,
Yeah, they
they
will.
will
Yeah.
at some
Yeah.
point throughout the day. Yeah, I love that. And I know we were talking a lot about women and working with women and the witch wound and connecting with that witch, but what are some of the common blocks when you work with women that you see that women are facing? Whether it's doubt or fear, is it self-sabotage? I know we spoke a lot about that, but there is something that
Yeah.
stands out.
Yeah, I think us obviously I have all different ages, but I think the most thing is they're lost. They don't realize that women go through so many different chapters in our lives. And we just, like I said, plod on and just go through, or it's mirrored to us how we should be. And we never stop to actually give gratitude for the other versions that we've grown out of. So there's a lot of grief, especially when a woman, becomes a mother. They grieve for their life they had before, but they don't want to say it because, that's going to be really sort of shame, So it's a
Mm,
lot of that comes up, a lot of being lost, lack of purpose, and really this feeling of like they've missed the boat. I mean, I've had someone in their 20s say that they're too old. I've had someone in their 70s, 50s, 40s, and I'm like, you're all saying the same things. And it's almost like a band-aid of like, that's the reason why I can't go for something. And it's all the fear, all the fear. And I
yeah,
think, everyone who comes to me is struggling with fear. And as soon as that fear comes up, they'll either procrastinate or they'll just stop.
yeah, wow,
It's such a shame.
it is a shame.
It is.
There's this constant fear, and it holds you
Yeah.
back from that purpose. It keeps you
Yeah.
stuck, but it's a big one to work with.
Yeah, huge. And there's a lot of advice out there just to, jump and, go through things. But if something is, obviously lots of people are dealing with trauma. So you have a level of
Right.
fear. I think a lot of people bypass a lot of our emotions and stuff like that. So that's another thing in the stillness. I think we need to do some work on ourselves to understand who we are. Returning to home is actually finding out who we are. Once we know that, facing the fear is a lot more easier because then
Yeah.
we don't bypass things.
Yeah, it's
We understand why we feel like that or
funny.
why it's triggering, and then we can make our nervous system feel safe and then go through that door of fear.
Yeah, because you'll just carry it from
Yeah.
stage of your life to one stage to the
Yeah, it'll
next.
keep coming up, keep coming up.
Yeah, it
The
does. Yeah.
universe will keep giving it to you until you've learned your lesson.
And and today there's women like yourself and there's tools out there to help
Mm.
people uncover what those innate fears are. Where
Yeah,
like years ago and I was doing my spiritual work that
yeah,
we didn't have this connection and these
yeah.
tools, but luckily I was intuitively guided and found ways. But I feel that there's always something that we need to reflect on and work with. It's never going to go away entirely.
No. And I think we're always learning. Like somebody asked me the other day, "Oh, you must be really figured out now. You must, absolutely healed." Because I just turned 50, and I thought I actually only now know who I am, and I pretty much like her, and I'm quite happy and everything about who I am. But I still have fear. I still have triggers. I still, that's just how we are. We're always learning.
Yeah.
Do you
Right.
think we're ever, ticked and that's done?
Yeah. I like that you said that when, you just turned a certain age and you feel really comfortable and you know who you are. And I think as we get older, we do start to recognize and
Takes
kind
a
of let
long time.
it does take a long time. Why does it have to take so
I
long?
know.
I mean, I'm in my
Yeah.
early 60s, but up until recently, I was like, oh my gosh, is I feel so much better. I feel like
Yeah.
I've really fully stepped into more of my power, and it just feels good, and I think that's
Yeah.
why I'm more able to connect with the witch side, and I've always been woo-woo, and
Yeah.
I do all these things, but it's just so lovely, and connecting with other women also that are on this path is truly lovely too, those women that are feeling really good about themselves. There's
Yeah.
nothing better when you
That's
see
it,
a
and
woman.
that helps us heal as well when we're
Oh,
having
yeah.
lovely, meaningful conversations with other women, you know?
Yeah. I love that. It's such a beautiful community.
Yeah.
S I'm sorry, I'm really, really prepared. I just wanna make sure.
Fine.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you offer guidance medicine readings, which I am going to have one with you very shortly. Can you tell us about what that experience is like and how it differs from intuitive readings? Or is it this similar? I know you talked a little bit about that, but just tell us about what
Yeah.
that is.
Well, it's taken me a long time to work out what it is myself, to be honest, but I've been talking to the dead since I was 4, and obviously with my parents, they never said it was wrong or different, so they kind of embraced it and helped me along. I have tried to stop, but that is part of me, and I've embraced it as I got into my 30s and 40s. I thought, this is who I am. What I didn't realize was it's not just someone's loved one or a spirit that I can connect to. I go through different dimensions when I'm with someone. So basically, when you log on, I don't have any tools. Like some readers will have tarot or they'll have
Mm,
something as their tool. Like my mum had tarot. My tool is I will ask you, where are you based? How have you found me? That is my trigger that I'm about to work. I would have meditated beforehand for about a good 20 minutes and called my team forward. When you start asking me questions, then your team and my team kind of like show me movies. And there is also in my book and in my oracle that there is a layer of, we have different layers of dimensions around us. It's going to sound woo-woo. And almost up to the source or God, there is where we have our soul library. And that's what I call the council, which are light people who help us with our soul contracts. And they're the ones who told me what this was. And they said you should call it guidance medicine readings and you need to advertise it and do it. So whenever I'm told something like that, I always do it, which I was petrified. And this was 2019 when they told me to go live with that. So they will sometimes show me a soul contract, and it'd be like timeline markers will come up, and that will show me things that my clients may have missed, or key transitions in people's lives or connections. They'll also show me sometimes past lives of that person. Then they'll spirit guides might come in, animal guides might come in, and then yes, of course, maybe your nan might walk in
Mm.
and give me an apple pie or have some kind of connection as well. But I just basically, for that 30 minutes, just repeat everything I'm seeing and hearing.
Is a person able to ask you a question like, what do you envision my life's journey to be or direction? Or is it more like, okay, so yeah,
Anything. Anything,
anything.
as long as
Oh,
it's a
that's,
question. But it's like I watched Mission Impossible, and Tom Cruise asked a question because I was in that nice state. I just had a
yeah.
bath and was really relaxed. I started channeling for the character on them. So it's something that is very difficult for me to switch off. So I do respect it and I sort of look after it. And music sometimes helps me as well. If my kids play certain kind of music
Yeah.
and we're having a family dinner, it will set me off, and I will
Yeah.
just channel.
Yeah. When you're in that meditative state, that kind of dreamlike and staring out the window type.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I
that's
love
the
that.
best. That's the best for me. So I hear and see a lot of stuff then.
Yeah. What a
So
beautiful
yeah,
gift.
it is beautiful. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
believe we can all do it. It's not something unique. It's just that I've practiced every day for
That's important that you said that because everything is a practice, even a ritual is a
yeah,
practice, right?
everything.
So if
Nothing's
you wanted,
unique, like, "Oh, she's so special." It's not, it's just that I didn't know what I was doing,
yeah,
and it was only through I lost my parents a year from each other, and I think that trauma came up of, like, grief that the council showed themselves to me and told me this is how I actually work, and I was like,
yeah,
"Oh, okay, that makes sense." So I started sharing, which was terrifying because I thought everyone's just gonna think I'm schizophrenic or something.
no,
But it is my most popular session, and I work with celebrities, film producers,
yeah,
normal people,
like
and
me,
like
like me
so
next
yeah,
month.
and it's helped people. Some people have it every month. So
Wow.
yeah,
Well, it's healing, and
yeah,
it's almost like you have that there's like a subtle awakening to things that because when we're so close to things we may not see, we may
yeah.
not trust those messages ourselves, and it's nice
Yeah.
for
And it's
our
more than mediumship. If you go to a
yeah,
medium, you're just gonna get somebody saying, "This person's passed with this. They saw you on a Tuesday,"
right,
And it's like, it's nice and it's comforting, but the council will show me things that have gone on in your mind, like things you thought about and disregarded that actually were downloads from your spiritual team that so you should look at them. Or because lots of people say, "Well, how do you know that?" Because that's in my mind. That's different. Then you may get confirmation from someone, in the spirit world as well, but it's more directional and I don't really tell people what to do. The medicine part is I give them tools. You could do this, you could try this, or that's, whatever they're showing me, but I always forget what I'm channeling. So straight after it's gone. So that's why I'm
right.
good with celebrities because I don't remember.
You have that client
Confidentiality, yeah, because it's just
confidentiality because it
gone.
gets wiped out.
Yeah.
The board gets wiped clean. Well,
Yeah.
because it's the message that needs to be said, and it channels through, and it's gone.
Yeah.
It goes to the right person, and
Yeah.
then
Done its job.
wow. The last I wanted to talk to one more thing. The wheel of the year. I know it's important when we study or when we embrace being a
Yeah.
witch, or even if you're not a witch.
Even if you're not, yeah.
Yeah. So the wheel of the year, I know I've learned to live by that more and more as
Yeah.
I connect with it. It feels more familiar and right for me. Can you just, I know it's extensive, but maybe just talk
Yeah.
a little bit about what that is and how we can invite that into our lives?
Well, it's interesting you said it feels familiar to you because that's how our ancestors would have actually lived. that's why it feels familiar to you. But I mean, I do live my life through the wheel of the year. So obviously, briefly, if you think about right now, this is being recorded end of February, where we're coming out of winter. We're kind of being in its worst and the days are getting longer in the UK, for instance, but we're slowly coming into spring. And what happens is the outside world, the muggles, the 3D world, as soon as they see the 1st of March, they're like, oh, it's spring and we're all here, we're ready to go. We've still got a nice slow period because if you look outside, only a few things are starting to wake up. So our ancestors didn't have the internet. They looked at nature
Right.
and we should actually mirror what nature's doing. So at the moment outside for me in Cornwall, we have a few little signs. So that's now making me think, okay, what do I want to, it's like grabbing like a bag of seeds and thinking, what do I want to plant when it does come to spring, which is the 20th of March, when we have a spring equinox.
Right.
Then I might plant my seed and then I'm going to start taking slow action to start getting this going. But that seed might not manifest till summer when we're outside and everyone's got all the energy and we're blooming and everything's, great. And then we come into like harvest time where that's a moment where you can reflect right back to probably the spring and reflect upon, what's worked for me. What am I grateful for? What do I want to carry on for the next turning of the wheel? And then also because we're now, obviously that's end of October, September, then we're going into this Samhain, Halloween of connecting to our ancestors, giving thanks to our ancestors, working with the dead and divination and our psychic abilities. And then we can then ask ourselves, what do I need to prepare for winter? Because winter is the cave. And that,
Yeah.
lots of people are terrified of it. I love the winter because, it is our rest, reflection, and receive time. So I do work with the word of the year like that, and that's how I sort of come out into the world, or I'm more seen sort of from spring to summer. And then you'll see if you follow me in winter, I kind of like go back into hide and then come back out again.
Yeah.
Because, women live with cycles. I don't think we could always be on the go all the time. And I, even we're always in the spring, summer, autumn, winter, and we have that monthly, we have that weekly. And I think if we can have that in our lives and we have times of go, 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 and then rest, and it will help us so much. You wouldn't get burnt out.
Yeah, I totally agree that it feels it's a cycle, and that you should connect with the energy of that particular point on the wheel
Yeah,
that you're in. Because if
yeah,
you go against it, there's this imbalance, this polarity, right? Like you said,
yeah,
winter and rest, and right here and where
yeah,
we are now, there's still so much snow and it's cold,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
okay with
At the
that.
1st of January, when
Yeah,
everyone's like, I'm going to set these new goals, I'm going to be fitter, lose weight, I'm going to do all this stuff.
yeah,
And then you think, well, the world outside is pretty dead right now. Everyone's really, it's very cold. No one's doing anything like that. Nature is deep in rest. Surely that'd be better in a star or Beltane
yeah,
when the world is blooming and coming to life.
yeah. And all these parts of the wheel have all these beautiful rituals and connections
Yeah.
to goddesses, and it's just so lovely. So, yeah,
Mm.
I know you talk also, I think in your Discover the Magical Life Within, you also have a lot of
I
the
have all the rituals in the back of that book.
all the rituals, and just some, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's nice, and one doesn't have to do them all. Find one that resonates with you. Maybe
Yeah.
people like sewing, and or
I don't celebrate all of them, to be
I
honest.
do too. Yeah,
There's some I like, some I don't, some I can
yeah,
just, sit and have a cup of tea and just think about it, where some of them I want to make them beautiful, or some of them I want to share with my family.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
everyone's
It's
different.
everyone's
Yeah,
different,
that's
and
good.
yeah, it's just a lovely practice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we'll wrap up, and I know I mentioned that you do have offerings. You have your guidance medicine readings, and you also have a witch school, which I know it's in. the process now or close. Can you
Yeah.
talk about that? Because I know
Yeah.
I'm interested in that one.
Yeah, well, again, it was a download. You should do a witch school, and I thought I don't know where to start with that. I don't know how to do it. And then I asked my community on Instagram, and they said yes. So I thought, okay, I'll do it. 'Cause like I follow everything I'm guided to do. And I decided to keep it a closed group so that I really wanted a sisterhood in it because everything's about sisterhood for
Yeah.
me. And so it started in October. I opened up a WhatsApp group for all the women to talk amongst themselves. And in the first couple of weeks, watching that and reading these connections with women all over the world, helping each other, sharing all their witchy beliefs and tools that they like. It is magical. It's been the most beautiful thing to do. So once a month, get them to come on to Zoom and I teach them a certain lesson, but it's more modern witchcraft to make it easy and to fit into daily life. And then they get to ask questions and they've got a sisterhood. So yeah, I'll be initiating them all in October.
Oh, isn't that lovely? And then you'll
Yeah.
open up
I'll
hopefully
open up
another
again.
and open up
Again.
again. And then you
Yeah.
have all the books and The Witch's Way Home is more comprehensive. You have your soul path and The Witch's Way
Yeah.
Home really talks a lot about what we said in more
Yeah.
detail,
Yeah.
even crystals and plant magic, which could be a whole other
Oh, no,
episode.
there's so much to talk about. I
Uh,
think if this conversation is piquing your interest, then Find Your Soul Path is very gentle and just touches on things, and then you've got the lovely Will of the Year at the end. But if you're being called to be a witch, then The Witch's Way Home is a great manual because it's just like a journey when you read through it, and you can
Yeah,
lose yourself at the end. You
I
don't
know.
need it. Yeah, you don't
I
need
know.
a
I
witch
saw
to
that.
initiate you. So I
Yeah.
actually initiated myself when I became a witch, so
Oh, isn't that beautiful? And you have the audiobook, which I actually have used as well, and your voice is just so beautiful and
oh, thank
soothing. Yeah, that it was just so lovely to listen to. So if you
you.
haven't figured out yet, I am a big fan of yours. And
Thank you.
and you are working on another book, but you do have Substack. I'd like to mention as well.
Yeah,
Your
I love
writings
Substack.
are lovely, and you have Substack, and you are working on another fantasy type book.
Yeah, that's something that just came to me, and it is like a true life story, part of my
Mhm.
past life. So it's very different for me to write, but I'm absolutely loving it. It has no publisher around it or anything. It's just a project that I want to do, and I have an idea for a book to follow both those other two books I've written as like
Right.
a manual for the Will of the Year. So I
Yeah.
have that as well. Most.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you wanted to share that perhaps, we didn't touch upon or
No, no, this is
right?
it. It's lovely. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing space with here and showing the world what it's like to experience being just a magical woman in today's world and connecting with others and creating that your community. So thank you, Emma, for
You
being here.
too. Thank you for asking me on this.
If you're still here with us, take a breath. Let what Emma shared actually land. Because some conversations are meant to be listened to, and some are meant to be felt. This was one I felt long after we stopped recording. If something in this episode stirred a quiet recognition in you, a flicker of, that's me, or I've been hiding that part of myself, don't rush past it. That flicker is the witch in you, waving. Maybe healing your own witch wound begins exactly the way Emma described, with a cup of tea, a hand on your heart, a moment of stillness in a world that wants you to keep moving. Or maybe it begins by sharing this episode with a woman you loved, a sister, a friend, a daughter, because sisterhood, as Emma reminded us, is where the wound actually heals. To learn more about Emma, her books, her oracle deck, and her witch school, head to the show notes. Every link is there. And if her work moves you the way it has moved me, follow her, support her, and tell her you heard her here. As for me, I'm releasing this episode in the light of the summer solstice, a reminder that we are not meant to dim. We are meant to bloom. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been with me a while, thank you for staying as Chat Off the Mat continues to evolve into something more intimate, more honest, more aligned with where I'm being called. You can find me over on Substack and on YouTube at Rose Wippich, Empress Rising, where voice, visibility, and vitality are the three threads I'm weaving through everything I do. Until next time, trust your intuition, honor your magic, and wear your crown proudly.